So this is my fifth trip to Europe, which makes me somewhat experienced in traveling. And so I thought maybe this time I'd do a few travel tips on my experiences with traveling to Europe and how maybe to make your trip to Europe a little more successful. So my first tip is to plan your itinerary for airline delays. Now, there's many ways in which the airline can cause a delay in your travel plans. You could miss a connecting flight. They could lose your luggage. If you're maybe traveling on some kind of a deal where you could get bumped from your seat, and then they make you catch the next flight and so on. So you're not necessarily guaranteed to get to your destination at the time that you plan for. So my advice is to plan your first couple of days in Europe to not really have to do anything. For example, last year when we flew to Norway, Iceland Air was late taking off from Minneapolis, and we missed our connecting flight in Reykjavik, which meant that we had to spend a day in Reykjavik and take one day off of our trip to Norway. Now, if we had planned to catch the cruise ship the same day that we were flying, that would have meant that we would have missed our cruise. Maybe they could have gotten us on the cruise ship later, but it would have ruined our vacation. As it turned out, we were visiting Lothar and Monica from Koblenz, and so it cut into one day. So my advice, let's say you're taking a 12-day Mediterranean cruise out of Barcelona, and you're going to go to Italy and Venice and so forth, and you want to see Barcelona too as the port where you're taking off. Instead of waiting to the end of the cruise, why not put that at the beginning of your itinerary? Fly to Barcelona, go to a hotel, rest up from jet lag for a day or two, and then get on your cruise ship. That way, if you miss your connecting flight or they lose your luggage, you still make your cruise. You may have to cut into your time that you were going to visit Barcelona, but they're not going to ruin your vacation by making you miss your cruise. So in other words, what I'm saying is plan your itinerary so that the most important part of your trip is at the end rather than at the beginning of your vacation. My second tip would be to pack light. Now, Europeans do a lot more walking than Americans, and sometimes you're going to find yourself doing a lot of walking with your luggage. Maybe the hotel doesn't have an elevator. Maybe you have to take a train, and the trains don't check your luggage like the airlines do. So the lighter that you can travel, the less stuff you carry with you, the more enjoyable it will be. Don't pack for the worst case scenario, pack for the best case scenario. Europe has grocery stores, clothing stores, just like in America. So if you get to Norway, for example, and it's a little colder than you expected, well, then simply go to the store and buy another jacket once you get there. Don't load yourself down with heavy luggage. My third tip would be to pack smart. Now, you have luggage that you might want to check with the airlines, and you also might have carry-on luggage. I like to have a backpack that I carry onto the airplane and then put my least important stuff like my clothes in my checked luggage. I can always buy more clothes in Europe once I get here, but if the airline loses my luggage and I have some important documents, for example, in it, well, that could ruin your vacation. One example, my friend Mark Stillman was traveling in France with his wife, and they were trying to get on the train, and all of the tickets and passports and so forth were in this one piece of luggage that he put on the train, and as he was getting his next piece of luggage, the train doors slammed shut and off it went. And there goes everything that they are, down the tracks. Now, fortunately, they reported it immediately to the police, and they found that piece of luggage a couple of days later and returned it to their hotel room. So you want to make sure that your important documents are always with you, maybe in a concealed purse under your belt, or in a backpack or something that you're always going to have with you and not have lost. The fourth tip is to protect your identification and credit cards. With today's technology, some of these credit cards have chips in them, and a thief could actually read the information on your credit card just by walking by you with the proper electronic equipment. You want to make sure that they have what they call RFID blocking capability. That means a particular container that holds your credit cards and so forth in something that blocks these radio waves from picking up data on your credit cards. Of course, you always want to men should put their wallets in their front pockets, not their back pockets. Any train station, airport, there's going to be professional pickpocketers there, and they're very good at what they do. So make sure that your important stuff is concealed in a way that can't get pickpocketed or stolen electronically. Another tip that I have is when you travel with your cell phone and your laptop computer and so forth, chances are you're going to want to use Wi-Fi, and you're also going to want to use international data plans that make it a little bit cheaper to talk or to text to your friends back home while you're on vacation. And the mistake I made last year, I bought a international data package with so many minutes of talking and data and so forth, but which covered me throughout Europe, except for on the cruise ship. Cruise ships have their own cell phone service, wireless service, that they want you to buy from them. And so we're out in the middle of the ocean going along on our first day of the cruise, and all of a sudden my cell phone goes off and says they are canceling all of my services. They put all of my phone use service on hold because I had exceeded $200 in data in just a couple of hours. And it was like, what happened here? I bought a plan, but as it turned out, when you get out on the cruise ship, you lose the connection from the cell towers back on the mainland, and the cruise ship cell service kicks in, and then they charge you. They have horrendous roaming charges. So I would suggest either putting your electronic devices on airplane mode while you're on your cruise, or to buy data, wireless services and so forth from the cruise ship itself before you take off on it. And my last tip is to travel to Europe while you still can. A lot of times people kind of put traveling in the background to when they retire, when they can afford it and so forth. And they might think, well, there's a lot of America I haven't seen yet. I haven't been out to Yellowstone. I haven't been to Florida or California. And yeah, that's true, but you can always it's a lot easier when you're 75 and in poor health to travel in America than it is to hop on a plane and go for 10 hours cramped in an airplane and then travel to Europe where they expect you to do a lot more walking. So my suggestion would be if you really want to go to Europe and if you really want to see this place, you should do it while you still can. You should do it while you're still young enough to do so, and then plan your American trips afterwards. So these are just a few of advice. There's plenty of travel tips that other travel shows have, and this certainly is not a complete list, but these are just a few of my observations from my 5th trip to Europe.